Hello everyone, back in the garage, another day of Uncle Joe scrapping. So, what we have today, two little items. This is a old Uniden radar detector, does not work, so that's going to get scrapped. And this is a Raytheon Marine grade radio. That also has seen better days, so we're going to try and take it apart and see what we find in here. I have not taken anything like this apart before. I have not seen this kind of equipment in the box. So this came from another clean out from my nephew Henry. So these two items came from there. So let's start with the little one first. We'll just put him there. So looks like we have two screws in the back. Hopefully that means the whole case comes off. So let's find out. Can we see that? Yeah. I got a new tripod. I'm trying it out. See if I can get better angles, better way this can be shown. Alright. So two little screws and the case pops out. Case is ferrous. Basically it just means that is magnetic. Tin shred, tin steel. So that just goes right into your shred pile. This looks like, doesn't stick, but that looks like plastic. Let's see. Yeah, that just cuts. That's just a plastic back shell. So what we're left with is a little unit. Metal inside. Yeah, it's probably just all steel, just regular shred. Okay. Let's just take the two boards out. There are two boards, top and bottom, and see what we're dealing with. See if the drill will do this. Yep. And get the other side. A lot of screws holding the boards on. And it looks like that might be holding the board as well. Might as well take it out since we're here. Alright. Alright, well, let's get the front cover off. Alright. Let's unscrew that. And just cut that. Looks like it's probably going to the speaker that is in the front of this. You have a speaker right there. This is just a plastic shell with the speaker. I'm throwing the whole thing right in shred. Not going to deal with trying to get that speaker out. Alright. So if we pull it... Oh, okay. The metal shell comes off. That is just ferrous tin shred material. What we're left with is really fascinating old school kind of board. If you look at that, lots of little capacitors and resistors and little diodes are in there as well. There are a couple tiny chips on the board. I see one there. There's another one down in there. This is probably where this received the radar waves coming in, the radar, and that is what then processed it through all of this. The backside just has all the tiny little solder points. Lots of little solder points on the back. So I think what we're going to do, cut it in pieces, get the wire out, get the chips off, and see what this is made of. It looks like that may be an aluminum shell in there, so let's find out. Cut some wire. Let's see, we'll clean this guy up first. Clean up the wire. That is just wire going to the LED on the front. That I will throw into the bit bucket. Looks like another LED bulb. That goes in the bit bucket. And then we just get the rest of the little bit of wire that's in here. Trying to get it as close to the board as I can so I get enough of it. Hey, you'll find this on some boards, some of the especially older boards. They have a jumper wire going from one solder point to another. Probably when they were making the board, figuring it out, that they needed another connection. So the easiest way, get from point A to point B, is to just put a jumper wire in the middle. Alright, we will get the chips off in a minute. Let's get here. That's just a piece of plastic. Alright. This looks like screws on the side. So we'll take this off. Hope everybody's having a good Saturday. Today is Saturday in the United States when this is being recorded. So hopefully everybody's having a decent weekend. Alright. That is just a ferrous metal shell. Basically just tin, steel shred. Goes in the bit bucket. If we look in here, there is another little board. Probably a chip under this, looks like a ceramic heat sink. So we'll try to get this little board out. More screws on the back. Let's see if that releases this whole thing. Alright, what does that do? That didn't really do anything yet. Okay, there's two screws down here, so gonna probably have to break this off the board to get that out. Okay, not a problem. Yeah, yep. Hey, there are two tiny screws holding something on, whatever these two devices are, into the radar horn. So we'll get them off. And these four screws holding this little board. Let's try to get those screws out. Need a smaller screwdriver. And the weather update for New Jersey, still cold. However, relief is on the way. We'll be getting into the mid-30s by midweek next week, by next Tuesday, Wednesday. So some of this snow may finally start melting. Alright. Let's see if I can get these two little devices off this. For a tiny little device, it definitely has a lot of complexity to it. I could not find a year on this thing. I'd have to look up the model to let you know. But based on this board, I would say it's probably late 80s to 90s type tech, just based on how this thing looks. Alright, can I get this off? Yes. Alright. It has some type of connectors. We'll cut that. And there we go. Alright. If we look what's left on the board, We have a MOSFET with the copper top, not coated in plastic, so that's good. We can recover that. Cut him off the board. Put him aside. We have the one little chip. With the wire, we'll get that. And let's see. No chips on that side, one chip here. We will try to cut it with our wire cutters. Ooh, don't break. There we go. One chip into the chip container. Alright, and if I look at the rest of this board, there really isn't much else of consequence on here that I want to recover. If you can recover aluminum, if your yard will take capacitors as dirty aluminum, a couple tiny little capacitors on there. Otherwise, this is just going to get thrown into tin shred. Like that. Now this guy, let's see what happens if I take these two screws out. And one more. See what this does. That falls off. Alright, that has some type of component inside that may not be able to get out. So this may have to just go in as dirty aluminum. I'll try to get that out. If not, that'll just go in as dirty aluminum. If I get it out, it goes in as a piece of cast aluminum. This thing, same thing. There's a whole bunch of points inside. If you can see here, they have little glue on it for probably when they pushed it through. So yeah, that most likely is not going to be able to be cleaned as well. I'll get the board out. We'll see if we can get that board out. Otherwise, the whole thing just goes in as dirty aluminum. This board, we have the one chip. Get that off. It's really on there. There we go. And they're not meant to come off. They kind of put them there to stay. Another very small chip, but hey, every chip is going to help for the total. And just because every ounce counts, we are going to get this tiny bit of ribbon wire as well. Oop, there's another chip. Missed you. Get some components out of the way so I can get to the chip. So one chip on the board. Just try to get one end. You can try to twist it off, and then you get the rest of the chip. Now some chips, if you break them in half, you can still throw them in. That's not going to hurt anything. Oh. And we do have a little piece of aluminum. Very good. Alright, so this would be just going into tin shred as well. And when I say tin shred, that is regular metal, ferrous metal, tin, steel, anything that is ferrous that isn't a big piece of metal that you would put into like prepared metal. So that would just be considered tin shred. That's a tiny piece of coated aluminum. We have one copper MOSFET and a very little bit of wire, but hey, wire is wire. Put that over here. We'll cut off this. A little bit of wire. And we're left with this stuff. And probably most of it is ferrous screws. And we got a couple that are not, which means those are probably stainless steel. So I just grab them on my magnet and just then put them in the bucket. Now, stainless steel is another category of metal. You'll find that in a lot of outdoor equipment. Stuff medical grade would be another one where you will find stainless steel. Stainless steel is basically a non-ferrous metal, but it has iron content in it because it is metal. It's a type of steel. The reason it is stainless, that's a good question. I have to look that up why. But stainless steel, you can tell the difference between that and aluminum. If you put aluminum, if you have a grinder and you grind stainless steel, it will spark, just like regular metal will spark. If you grind aluminum, it will not spark. So that's how you can tell, hey, is this metal stainless or is it aluminum? If you don't know, that's one other way. You can put it on a grinder and find out. All right, so we'll put these little things over here for now. That's going to go over there. This guy. Let's start by cutting off the wire and the connector. Maybe brass end, dirty brass. This guy goes there. And we cut this wire. As you can see, there are 4 strands of wire in this cable. I will not strip that. Some people may want to strip that. If you do, you have to get the outside coating, and then the 4 individual wires, you got to get the coating off of that. So yeah, could you strip it? Sure. If you have time, go for it. Otherwise, I just put this into my wire bucket, and like I said in other videos, I get $1 a pound for all wire. These old, you remember telephone cords from back in the day. This wire, really difficult to strip. Would not recommend it at all. That I would just throw right into your wire bucket. All right. Let's see, we'll take the screws out the side. Those are, they're not magnetic, but they're coated in steel. I mean, in plastics that are probably stainless, because since it was an outdoor unit. But they're going in shred. There's no way you're really going to get that off easily. All right, let's see if we can get the back off. My guess is this is going to slide out very similar to how the radar detector did. My guess is these are all stainless screws. Stainless is worth more at the scrap yards, so you definitely want to separate it if you do have stainless. Clean stainless. Not yet. All right, they are definitely all loose. Oh wow, that's why. Really long one. Very long screws. So that definitely tells me it's holding it in. So this one, if a screw doesn't want to come loose, you can apply gentle pressure. I have a flat head that I'm just applying some gentle pressure to it. And as you unscrew it, it should release more and allow it to come out. Like that. All right. That's 5 screws, all 5 are out. You're going to come apart a little bit. Not the way I thought it was going to come apart, but it is. Okie dokie. All right. Looks like we have a board on the front and a board inside. Let's see how we get him out. First, we're going to cut this off. And we'll get to you. Alright, are you just a plastic shell because you feel very plastic-y? Good way is, can you cut it or crack it? Cracking it basically tells you that's plastic. Aluminum would not crack. So that's garbage. Alright, that's just the weather seal that was around it, so that goes garbage. That is just a ribbon wire. Piece of cable there. And how are you going to come out of there? This is an aluminum heatsink on the end. So the idea is you want to try and remove this board to then get that heatsink. And we'll have to see. Okay, I see 1, 2 screws. Alright, let's see if that helps. Can I get to that one? Yes, I can. Okay. That is probably going to be a bugger because they have sealant on the inside of both of those, obviously to help seal out moisture from the power input and the antenna input. So that may require some hammering. Okay, we'll get back to you. Let's look at you. Let's get the weather stripping off of that. That's just garbage. And get these brackets off. Yeah, a little more complicated than I thought for a little marine radio. I don't know what I was thinking, but not this. Okay, that would be metal. Standard steel tin shred into the bit bucket. This guy. One screw here. And might be another screw right under here, but it's glued down, so I'm going to have to break that out. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiny screws holding this board in. And if you're wondering why I'm going through the effort to do this, this front faceplate, I believe, let's make sure. Never mind, it's plastic. Felt more solid than plastic, but it's plastic. But anyway, I want the board. If it was aluminum, that would make it nicer, but we'll still recover what we can out of this thing. Another screw. Any other screws? Does not look like it. All right. Oh boy, I may have to break this board to get them out. That's what's going to probably happen. Let me cut these two little wires holding for the speaker. Get them out of the way. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that broke it. That's all right. Clip the wires that are there, save those. Clip these wires. There by the speaker in the front. We'll get those out. Alright, what you're left with is a mess in there. So, plastic shell, little speaker, remains of the circuit board, another little board going into these two power plug, the volume and squelch controls. So yeah, that whole thing, I'm not going to clean it up anymore. Since this is really magnetic material, you know, ferrous material, that I am throwing into shred as is. That, when they get it, this will go into some shredder and literally be crushed down into the little pieces. You're going to find sometimes some of this is more of a judgment call as to what can be thrown in shred versus what can't. The way I look at it is, if you were just to throw this whole thing into shred, they're getting everything. What we're trying to do is minimize what gets thrown out in the garbage. So we are just going to try and take out the pieces we can that we know we can sell or reuse versus what is going to go into the shred pile versus what has to go in the garbage. Okay, this is a little LCD screen that I just throw right into the shred bucket, bit bucket. This has a nice little chip that we will recover that chip. The rest of the board, not much really going on. So once we get that chip out, that probably just goes right into the bit bucket. As I said in other videos, these are little tactile switches. They probably would have been for where the buttons were. There sometimes is a tiny, tiny dot of silver in there that you can recover. I don't go after the silver that's in there, but if you're into silver recovery, you may want to try and salvage what's under those dots. Again, it's not much, but it is something. Alright. Let's clean up this wire harness. Get you out. Cut the wire tie off. And try to pull the wire through. And there we go. That is the little ferrite ring, ferrite core that was around the wire. That goes in the bit bucket because that is a magnetic material. We will get the little bit of wire that was in the board. That goes in the wire bucket. And now we're left with this stuff. So let's see what is stainless and what is not. Let's get our magnet. Alright, these are stainless steel. These are ferrous standard shred material. So they go in the bit bucket. I am going to get over here my little aluminum containers, and these will go in my pile of stainless steel that I already have built up. So there we go. This guy, the actual microphone, let's see what's in him. Let's check them. Alright, there is a screw there in the plastic shell. Let's get the screw to save it. There we go. Then this just goes into garbage. That is a plastic outer shell. That was the strain relief off the cables. That can go in garbage. So that's plastic. Yeah, so we have 3 screws holding the microphone piece down. Alright, that is shred steel. That can go in the bit bucket. The rest of this shell is plastic. That can go in garbage. All right, we got a little bit of wire. Save the wire. All right, here you go. This copper wire looks like some of the sheeting was already off. So what I'll do is cut it right there, because that to me now is a little piece of number 2 copper that goes in my number 2 copper pile. Because again, every ounce counts, every bit helps. That's just a piece of plastic came off the board. And now this board is really a low-end board, probably a little silver contacts under those again, if you so choose to try to clean that. And that was just the plastic push button piece. Garbage. And tiny bit of wire. And are these screws magnetic or stainless? 3 magnetic, 3 stainless. Alright, 50-50. We'll take it. That is possibly brass. There would be brass within that, and a little bit of wire there. That can technically go in your dirty brass if your yard will take those kind of plug-ins as dirty brass. Definitely ask them, see if they can take that. And then we're left with this guy. Alright. That looks like a pain. So let's find out. Okay, I see 2 more screws sitting down in here. Let's see if they hold anything else together. See if I can even get to this one. Yes, I can. All right. There's 2 screws there. That made it a little bit looser. Good. So now what do we got to do? Well, now we may just have to resort to some force to get that out. Let's try this. We will cut the cords right here, because that'll free it up from this plug that's glued in right there. So now if we're pulling the board out, don't have to worry about him. Let's try that, and the same on this one. All right. Hey. Boy, I like it when it works on camera. That's pretty cool. All right. That, unfortunately, I'm probably going to throw that whole thing into dirty aluminum. I will try off camera to get these 2 plugs out, but they are heavily glued in there, as you can see. So we'll try. Try it and see. That's all you can do. All right, big heat sink on the back of this chip. Not even sure if that would even be considered a chip. I don't really know what that is. It's got the gunk on it, the thermal heat paste that's on the back of this. I may crack that off camera too and see what's inside, just because. All right. Not magnetic. That one is magnetic. So these 2 shields are not magnetic. This one is. All right. So let's see if we can get this one off. All right. Now, if you can see right here, you got 4, well, I just bent the one. There's 4 little copper coils. Those are copper you can recover off this board. You should be able to break it and crack it and then pull them off. See, I just pulled one up, cut one end, cut the other. Cut one end and cut the other. So nice little bit of copper off of that. Well, he came out real easy. That was nice. Hey, this piece has a tiny bit of solder here and here. I'm not going to worry about that piece. This one I will, because that's a big piece of solder. That'll go in the bit bucket. But these two pieces are just going to go into aluminum sheet. And what's left on this side? Break you off. And we got a nice little transformer. There he goes. Right here. That was on that board. Probably a nice tiny bit of copper in there. May try to get him out. Won't be much, but hey, you never know. And 1, 2, 3 MOSFETs screwed into this heatsink. There will be a chip under here. That's just a metal shield, so we'll just leave that alone. On the back, another metal shield. There's probably a small chip under there. A lot of little components on the back of this board. And nice stuff on here. After I clean this up, that would probably go in as a high peripheral board. So you don't have to clean up any of the chips if you didn't want to. We'll try to remove that shield and see what's under him. So let's try to get these screws out of the heatsink, so we can then take the heatsink off. One. You're probably not seeing that, are you? Gotta get better at the angles, Uncle Joe. Gotta make sure you can show the angles. Because if all you're seeing is my glove or my shirt, my jacket, that's not exactly very exciting. Alright, you're gonna just bend off. Yes, you are. And you're just steel, as we said. Alright. Let's recover these MOSFETs. We'll just cut them off. There's one. 2. And you are not a MOSFET. That one I'm leaving because that's not a MOSFET. That's something else. That's too thin, and it's got a metal sheet running straight through it, so that stays. Alright. Let's get the rest of this sheet off. Now let's see if we can try to pull up that little shield here. I say that, and then it's being a pain. Uh-oh. Doesn't want to go. There's always a way. You just break it. Is there even anything under there? There really isn't anything under there. That's even worth taking that off. That's pretty wild. Wow. Okay. There are 2 very small crystal oscillators right there for silver recovery. 3, 4. All right, so 4 crystal oscillators if you wanted to try to recover for silver recovery. All right. Well, you got it that far. I got to at least try and take it off now. Boy, nothing like destroying the board as you're trying to take that off. All right. That was a whole lot of nothing, because there really isn't much under there. There's something right here that has glue around it. It's probably whatever is going to the bottom of that. So yeah, that was a chip of some sort. That'll just go in as a high peripheral board. Alright. Last little bit and then we'll clean up. Tiny bit of wire there. Tiny bit of wire around this ferrite core, ferrite ring. goes in the bit bucket. This little board is just basically a couple resistors and the wire, and that is it. So he goes in the bit bucket. Nothing worthy there to save. Wire in the bucket. Let's get these screws in a little pile. Get a magnet. Those are all ferrous screws. All right. Let me clean up and we'll be right back. All right, so what do we get? We got, out of those two units, one was a radar detector, the other one was a marine grade radio, CB radio. This is what we have left. We have the wire that we got out of both units. Again, the radar detector did not have a lot inside it that was worth saving, so you don't really see a lot of that here. But most of the wire came from that radio. The stainless steel screws that were mostly in the marine grade radio. The dirty aluminum, that did come out of the radar detector in this piece. The back shell of the radio. 2 MOSFETs. Well, 3. There was another one, I threw it in there already. This chip, whatever that is, I gotta look him up. 1 tiny little transformer. A tiny little bit of copper. Hey, copper's good. Tiny little bit of sheet aluminum. 1 dirty brass plug. And then 3 little boards. 1, this would be high peripheral. This I'm just going to harvest a chip off, and that's going to go into tin shred. And this guy is just going to go into tin shred, like that. So thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it was enjoyable. Please, again, like, share, subscribe. Comments if you can, let me know. Looking to critique these videos. Want to see how I'm doing. Also, this is the can of screws that is now filled up from the last couple videos. So I just wrote in there 2 pounds. That's basically 2 pounds of screws. That'll just go into shred when I go to the scrapyard the next time and just start a new bucket that I have a whole bunch of these. Again, this isn't much, obviously. Right now I'm getting like 7 cents a pound for tin shreds, so that's what, 14 cents in screws and associated garbage. But hey, it counts, so there we go. And that's that. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.